this is probably the oldest debate in the Pokemon community, and that is what makes a really awesome, or better yet, what makes the perfect starter type Pokemon? Well, I decided to do some research and look at all the starter Pokemon from generations 1 through 8, put them all on a list, and find my top 3 worst and best starter Pokemon for the following categories of design, theme, and typing. And here's what we came up with. Reminder to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Quoorn's Quest to help support the channel, help support these videos, and now let's get into the video. We're gonna go with the top 3 worst designs. Everything's judged by the line. It's not judged by like the individual Pokemon themselves, it's judged by the entire line, as you're about to see. Number 3, Grookey. So my biggest thing with Grookey, I'm so sorry for all the Grookey fans. I personally did pick Grookey for my first starter in this generation, but across the board design-wise, it is so not cohesive. Here's where the zoologist in me comes out. Grookey is clearly a monkey with the prehensile tail. It evolves into the end evolution Rillaboom, which is based off of a gorilla, which is an ape, not a monkey. So that's already really weird that it changes so dramatically in my opinion. Like even looking at Thwackey is like, granted a nice kind of mix of both, but yet it still feels rather incohesive because it looks like it has the arms of Rillaboom and like the headpiece of Grookey, and then the rest of it, I don't really know what it is. I don't know what your guys' opinions are on this, but that's where I see it being very incohesive. I don't quite get it. And then the drum bugged me. So I tend to not enjoy Pokemon when they have like, when they just all of a sudden have like a physical item just out of nowhere. What I really liked about Grookey and Thwackey was that they had this stick. You can find a stick anywhere. I'm fine with Rillaboom and like the Thwackey line or like the Grookey line being drummers. That's fine. But what I think Rillaboom should have had is big logs that he uses as like drumsticks to make everything a drum, not his own personalized drum that he just all of a sudden gets. I don't like that. Grookey literally had a stick at its first evolution stage, put it in his hair, cute little headpiece. Thwackey got some bigger sticks in the hair, awesome man bun going on, and then Rillaboom lets it all loose with this big rockstar mane, throws the sticks out, essentially, and is like, I know how to drum. I don't like that. The number 2 spot of worst designed Pokemon goes to Primarina. But unfortunately, I did see someone on TikTok say Primarina. Here's the reasons why I don't like Primarina as a design. Guess the number 2 spot, again, not cohesive in my opinion. So you start with Popplio, which looks like it's gonna be a clown. I'm totally fine for that. I'm fine with goofy Pokemon designs. It doesn't totally bug me. I'm not someone that needs every starter Pokemon to look like a badass. I'm fine with it being this goofy, silly design. But Popplio starts out as what looks like a clown. Then it evolves into its middle stage. I don't even know its name, in all honesty. I don't remember the name of this thing. But it's like kind of a clown, kind of like just a girl with braids and a skirt is what it kind of looks like as well. And then it totally just evolves into a mermaid. Like, I wasn't getting mermaid vibes really at all. Like, I know that starter Pokemon don't have to exactly look like their full stage, but the fact that like, it just changed too drastically for me. And then I also just didn't like that it was so one-sided. So I like that Pokemon have gender differences. I think it's really cool because it adds to like the biodiversity aspect of Pokemon, making it feel a little bit more realistic and just a little bit more unique. So Primarina being a mermaid, I think is a cool design. What I think should have happened is they either should have been the first starter Pokemon to be one gender and one gender only, or there should have been a secondary version of Primarina that is more masculine, just to kind of differentiate it, because it just kind of feels off to me. Like, it feels like someone was like, oh, I really, really like this idea of a mermaid Pokemon. It'd be awesome if we did a mermaid Pokemon starter. Oh, all starters should be about a 50-50 split or so of gender. And I have this opinion about a lot of other Pokemon. There's a lot of Pokemon that I think are way too masculine. And it's like one of those things of, I wish, because they're supposed to be based off animals, there's a little bit more of this biodiversity. Like, I wish that the male version of a Primarina maybe didn't have this long flowing tail or this long flowing hair. Maybe it was more like streamlined. It'd be fast, like a torpedo. Whereas the Primarina would be more mermaid, more elegant, and still really fast and really powerful. Can we get a drum roll, please? The worst designed Pokemon by Quoorn's whatever I'm judging it on is back to Alola. I gotta give it to the Litten line. It's, again, not cohesive. You notice that a lot of these designs, what I'm calling them is like not cohesive, is like the full evolution line doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Yes, the patterns are similar, and yes, it is kind of similar, but there are some really, really big glaring like differences between, like, so Litten and Lido, the middle one, whatever it is, that looks like a good evolution line to me. That looks solid. It's getting a little bit bigger. Instead of like these weak little whiskers, it's getting some more defined whiskers, more defined features, a bigger like prowess on its head and stuff. It's coming together nicely. I get it, it's a cat, I get it. But then all of a sudden it goes into this like human? Like looking Pokemon. It gets really weird in my opinion. Like, kind of to my second point, firefighting? You have these two Pokemon that are so quadruped, and then all of a sudden it turns into like a full-grown man. And I think they did this because it was supposed to go with the Masked Royale with the professor. And I think, I'm a firm believer that this was supposed to be a fighting fire type. I'll be that conspiracy theorist guy and say this was supposed to be a firefighting type, but when they leaked it or when they released it, people were so upset that they were getting another firefighting type that they were like, oh, just kidding, it's a dark type. Oh, it's fire dark. It's not a fighting type at all. Ignore the WWE belt. Like, ignore the big muscles, tank top, like pants. It's nuts. It's just all over the place in my opinion when it comes to that. It looks like a costume. It totally looks like a costume. What I think should have happened is it should have stayed on all four legs, and it should have taken more inspiration from the cat like idea. Maybe turning into a big four-legged tiger. Thank you for agreeing. Like a really big, strong, like, big beefy tiger. Because what I'm noticing, and what I noticed from the anime and other things as well, is the middle stage uses that thing around its neck, like a bell that you give a cat. It uses it as like a fire blast thing. It uses it for its moves, similar to how Incineroar uses the belt. I think it would have been awesome if it was on all fours, big tiger guy. It developed this big collar with a big bell on it. How dope would that be? And that's like, it like rings and like sways when it walks, and it's just big like. I think that would be an awesome design, and I think that would be way more cohesive, and it would lend itself to the dark type a lot more, because it literally wouldn't look like a guy that's about to fight you. He literally looks like he's about to fight you, and kind of like with the Primarina thing, super, super masculine. And those hands look like big costume hands. Moving on to the top 3 best designs. Coming in at number 3, we have Typhlosion. So I like the Typhlosion line a lot. I think it's super cohesive. Looking at like Cyndaquil, Quilava, and Typhlosion, all in the same image, they all look the same. They keep their major characteristics. So like, I don't even care that the flame moves. So the flame on Cyndaquil's back bursts out of it. That stays through the rest of them. It just shifts on to what part of its body it's on. And Quilava and Cyndaquil are both like bipedal, quadrupedal, like they go back and forth. They can be on their hind legs, they can be on their all fours. And I think that helps a lot with the more static Typhlosion design of being a more bipedal Pokemon. I think this is how you do it. You have the first two evolutions be more like, oh, like they're babies. They're trying to stand up on their own, but they can't quite do it, so they have to crawl around on their hands and knees. Moving on to number 2. The number 2 best designed Pokemon starter is the Bulbasaur line, coming in at number 2. Again, like Typhlosion, it's very cohesive. They all look like they belong together. When you see them together, when you see them separately, you can easily identify what the Pokemon line is. If you see an Ivysaur and you see a Bulbasaur later, you're gonna assume they're related. If you see a Venusaur, you're gonna assume it's related to Ivysaur especially, and then you're probably gonna have some pretty safe guesses if you see a Bulbasaur later. Like, it's so cohesive. And I like that in this design, it has a bit more detailed. So Typhlosion was very, very straightforward in my opinion. I like it, but it's very, very simplistic, very, very minimalistic. I do enjoy that the Bulbasaur line has these fine details of their skin patterns and their leaf patterns and their like blooming flowers and stuff like that. The fact that Bulbasaur starts with a nice bulb, it's all together. It looks like when it goes to Ivysaur that the bulb actually blossoms open to reveal another bulb inside of it. And then once it gets to Venusaur, it just makes sense because it all grows out. It gets big enough to where it doesn't look goofy. It looks like it all fits. Moving on to the number 1 best designed starter Pokemon. Well, I think people might be a little disappointed, or people are gonna be very excited. It's Torterra. It's the Turtwig line. Again, like the Bulbasaur line, they're very cohesive. Its Turtwig starts out with a little twig on its head, gets a little bit bigger, turns into Grotle, then gets a bush on it. It gets 2 bushes on its back. Awesome, makes sense. Grotle gets the bushes. I love that because it shows it goes from a little seedling to a little bit bigger, more developed Pokemon. And then we get Torterra, which the bush grows into a tree, all the way up from a little sapling. We still see some lovely moss on its back, on its rocks. It has really unique features in that sense, where, kind of like with my third point, it's very much designed for its type. Torterra looks like a continental ground grass type Pokemon. It just looks that way. If you told me that Turtwig and Grotle were also ground types, I would be a little confused because they don't quite read that way. I love how subtle but yet on point Torterra's spikes are, because they remind me of mountains, they remind me of jagged rocks that would come from this rugged, like earth Pokemon. It looks like a turtle all throughout, just maybe different types of turtles, and it's not so on the nose that it's a turtle. Like, it kind of gives me a little bit of tortoise vibes. I think Torterra and the Turtwig line is easily deserving of the best designed starter Pokemon. So now we're going to be talking about theme, and I should elaborate probably a little bit on what I mean by theme. When I talk about theme of a Pokemon, I mean like how all the fire types are based around the Chinese zodiac signs, or how all the water types are supposed to be based off of weapons, and all the grass types are supposed to be based off of like prehistoric animals that have lived through the earth, as well as if they have some defining features, like if Inteleon is supposed to be like this James Bond feel, Rillaboom is supposed to be a rock star, like, do they also fit that theme throughout the line, or does all of a sudden at the very end, it's like, boom, I'm a super secret agent, you never knew that about me and Inteleon. Top 3 worst fitting theme Pokemon. Coming at number 3, we have the Bulbasaur line. They were number 2 for best design, they are number 3 for theme. Mainly because I was way too old to realize that this was supposed to be based off of a dinosaur. I don't see it. I don't see dinosaur. I do see the theme of, yes, it's a flower that bulbs open. I get that, I love that. They feel like frogs to me though. And like with other Pokemon through generations, you hear about like, oh, Rowlet is based off of this extinct owl. I just don't see what dinosaur Bulbasaur is supposed to be based off of, but I do see frog. It is like consistent that frog is like what it's based off of as a theme. So it's getting the number 3 spot because it's not the worst fitting the theme. In the number 2 spot, we got the Totodile line, mainly because I don't see the weapon. So I love the Totodile line. I should probably make that clear. I love Totodile a lot. I think it's really, really cool. What I unfortunately don't see in it is the weapon design. I kind of see it with like daggers or like throwing knives. I can kind of see from the spikes and the teeth, but apparently it's supposed to be based off of brass knuckles. You kind of see it with Feraligatr along its arms. It has these like padding that like I think is supposed to be like a brass. Like whenever I see Pokemon type charts or like Pokemon charts of like, oh, here's what these starters are based off of. Obviously, Swampert is based off those like fighting fans. Empoleon is based off of a trident. They always put Feraligatr with brass knuckles. And I just don't see it. It looks, yeah, like a hitter. It looks powerful. But I see like a kunai knife. Like look at the tails of all of them. It looks like they have kunai sticking out of them. I think that would, and with their sharp teeth, their dex entries are always so like, if Totodile bites you too hard and his teeth falls out, it'll grow back new ones immediately. It should have been knives. I don't know if that was a thing of Pokemon where just like, oh, we don't want to do knives. I have brass knuckles was somewhat better, but yet Squirtle was like cannons. I don't know, it was weird. So moving on to the number 1 worst fitting theme. What Pokemon might you be asking? Well, I'm here to tell you. The Pokemon with the number 1 spot for worst fitting theme out of the top 3 is the Rowlet. Because I don't understand the theme of this Pokemon, like at all. So you get Rowlet, this cute little round owl thing. I love that. It has a little bow tie, cute. You think it's gonna be this dapper little man, this cute little elegant boy. Then you go to like the Draxix, or I don't know any of the Metal Evolution stage names of the Alolan Pokemon, but it continues the theme a little bit. It gets this coiffed, kind of gives me like Sanji vibes from One Piece. It keeps the bow tie, totally makes sense. Fancy little owl. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it just develops this weird goth phase, gets a hood, starts shooting arrows, becomes an Avenger apparently, and becomes an archer. I get that Rowlet has like the way it throws out its leaves looks like archer arrows and stuff, but like Decidueye has such a strong archer influence that was not there in the other ones in my opinion. It has no bow tie, it instead has the little like hoodie ties. That's not a bow tie in my opinion, that's a hoodie tie. That's just strings to tighten its mask. In the number 3 spot for the best fitting themed starter Pokemon, we have the Chikorita line. You know this is a dinosaur. Now maybe the Chikorita spot, maybe Chikorita, you don't quite realize it's a dinosaur yet. But as soon as it goes to Bayleaf, I'm getting major dinosaur vibes. I just get major dinosaur vibes from it. I love the flower blooms that comes from it. It does like this awesome progression of Chikorita being a seedling. Almost like Chikorita, in my opinion, reads to me as the egg of the dinosaur, which is where it also doesn't bother me because with grass types, all plants start as little seedlings, they get a little bit bigger, they get really big in some cases, and that's where I think this line leading up to Meganium works so well. In all the fan art, I see people making this thing like a Brontosaurus or a Brachiosaurus, whichever one actually existed, because one of them didn't exist. Around its neck, the flowers make so much sense. It starts out, again, little spiky seeds, turns into pods is what it looks like. The pods are just ready to bloom. Bam, evolves one more time, and it turns into this big, beautiful flower. It just fits this theme of a flower seedling coming full bloom, as well as a dinosaur fully growing up. The one thing that puts it low on my list is the head leaf. Really confuses me. I get that Chikorita's head leaf is supposed to be so big, and then Bayleaf's is a little more rigid, has a hole in it. It's supposed to be fading out, but it almost looks like it's getting sharper. It feels like it's becoming more defined, and then all of a sudden Meganium loses it and gets antenna. I do like the antenna from Meganium. I think it works really, really well, but I don't like that it has no real remnants of the other leaf. So the number 2 spot, we have the one and only Chimchar line. Gets the number 2 spot of best fitting themes because you know right away this thing is a monkey. It's not like Infernape, or not like, it is like Infernape. It's not like Grookey, where it starts out as like a monkey, develops into an ape. Like, Chimchar looks like it doesn't have a really long tail, but because it's like a baby, it makes sense that it wouldn't have this long tail like the other 2 have. But because the second one gets a long tail, it's like, oh, okay, it just grew up. Also looking through it, the features grow. You might not think it really fits like the theme of itself, like within its own design and whatnot as well, because obviously it just gets more defined as it grows. And I think that really fits the theme as well as being a fighter, because Infernape looks like it has armor with its swirls. Like Chimchar has a swirl on its chest, Monferno has a swirl on its chest, and then Monferno also gets armbands. And so it makes sense that Infernape has the swirls all over its body. It has the, like, its armbands turn into like almost like armor pieces for its hands and shoulders and like chest. It just makes a lot of sense. What I don't like about it is the flame moves really, really drastically and all of a sudden. Chimchar, awesome, it's on its butt, it's its tail. Monferno, maybe it grows its tail out as like a candle type of thing, a reverse candle wick of like, oh, because its flame also gets a lot longer as well. But then Infernape, though cool, has it coming out of its head? I don't get it. I don't get why it moves there. If it ran up its back, I kind of get it, but because it doesn't run up the back and it doesn't connect to the tail in any way, it just looks more like a cool design piece, kind of breaking apart the theme in my opinion. Now we have the number 1 best fitting themed starter Pokemon. Give you a hint, it's another fire type. It is all the way, oh my gosh, from Gen 8, we have the Scorbunny line. I think it's well deserving of the number 1 best fitting theme spot because Scorbunny, from the get-go, 100% a rabbit, all the way through, you know it's a rabbit. Like, literally, it fits the Chinese Zodiac set. The fire type starters usually fit the themes the best because they're modeled so closely after the Zodiac calendar that it just makes sense. So 100% a rabbit, it's 100% a jock as well. Looking at Scorbunny, I'll break this down. Scorbunny looks like a young wannabe athlete. It's putting like tape on its nose because it thinks that's what it does. It has like what looks like little like cleats on its feet. It's got a little something something like a towel, you could argue, or like what looks like maybe like a hoodie, like a warm-up hoodie around its neck starting to form. Raboot, people always kind of associate it with Kakashi from Naruto because of like the whole mask thing. People see it as a mask. I think it looks like a jock because I remember kids from my high school and kids in college, every athlete, I swear, this is every athlete in school at some point in their life. This is legit. Every athlete I've ever seen does this, which is literally what Raboot is doing. It's hiding its hoodie because it's this awkward middle stage. It doesn't know what it's doing, but it's getting better at its skill. But it's doing this thing of hiding in the hoodie. It's not a mask like Kakashi Sensei from Naruto. It's a high school kid or like a middle school kid hiding in their hoodie. And I think that's hilarious. I hope I'm not the only one that sees it that way, but that's how I see it. Which makes it just 100% more like a jock. And then finally, we get to Cinderace, which I think 100% looks like a soccer player. It's got the jersey, it's got the pants, it's got the shoes on, socks looking thing. This is, you get the collegiate, you get to the pro level. He's no longer hiding in his hoodie. He is in charge, ready to go, looks like an athlete. But these are my top 3 worst typing Pokemon. And at the number 3 spot, for the worst, we got the Oshawott line. Let's get the number 3 spot because it's not bad on its typing. Obviously, it looks like a water type through and through. But what bugs me, it's not a rock type or a steel type, because look at the shell armor at the end. I feel like this should have been a rock type. This should have been a steel type or something, maybe. Like maybe the Hisuian form would be a water steel type. And this one would be a water rock type. It looks like it has rock armor. The shells are like a rock, you could argue. It has these shells that it's using. It turns into this thing covered in armor. I think it should have been a rock type as well as a water type. Would have been cool, would have been unique for starter types. I get that there's already a lot of water rock types. I feel like they might have pitched it in a meeting and someone shot it down being like, there's already so many water rock types because of fossil Pokemon. We cannot make our starter Pokemon a water rock type. Also because later on in the game, we have a water rock type Pokemon that's a fossil. So number 2 spot was hard. This one got really hard when I was looking at all the typings because they all, like, most of these typings are gonna be monotypings and whatnot, or like whatnot, just because it was very hard to pick a worst and best typing because they all do truly look like their initial typing, but sometimes they might look like they have, like Oshawott looked like it needed to be also a rock type in my opinion. So they'll have things like that, or for best types, they're gonna have just really interesting combos. So this might get a little biased. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm too biased on this or if you have your own opinions as well. But going on to the number 2 spot for top 3 worst typing Pokemon is, again, we go back to Alola with Litten. It gets the number 2 spot because it just screams fighter. This is a fighting type Pokemon. This is gonna cause a lot of controversy. I know this is gonna cause a lot of controversy because in my number 1 spot for the worst typing starter Pokemon is none other than everyone's favorite, including Game Freak's, the Charizard line. I think it deserves a number 1 spot purely because it is not a fire dragon type. So in Generation 1, we had dragon type Pokemon. There was only one Pokemon in Generations 1 and 2 that was a dragon type, and it was the Dragonite line. This thing is literally designed after a dragon. Like, it makes the most sense as well, because Charmander looks like a baby dragon. Charmeleon looks like a little bit bigger dragon. Charizard looks like a fully grown dragon. Unfortunately, Game Freak thinks that wings equals flying. Oh, it has wings, it has to be a flying type. So it made it a flying type, which is just a big bummer because, like, not all dragons have wings. As proven from Dratini and Dragonair. You don't have to have wings to be a dragon, so I think this would have been an awesome counter to Dragonite, and then as well, you would have been able to take on Dragonite a little bit easier, and it would have given the game more than one dragon type, because I don't understand why Generation 1 and 2 had to be so exclusive on their dragon types. We're gonna be going over now the top 3 best starter Pokemon typings. Coming in at the number 3 spot, we have the Chespin line. I like this Pokemon a lot because it looks like a fighter from the get-go. It evolves into Chestnut, which is a grass fighting type. I think it's super cool. I think it makes a lot of sense because Chespin looks like it can put up a fight, maybe not as well as the second evolution, but the second evolution looks like a little wrestler guy, which is super cool, and the final evolution very much looks like a fighter. Very much looks like someone that would beat me up, or that would beat up someone for me. The number 2 spot, but for best typing starters, goes to The Piplup line. I love the Piplup line. I think it's well deserving of the number 2 spot because its typing fits the weapon. It's a steel type. It's based off of a Trident. Tridents are made of steel. They're made of metal. It just makes sense. It makes a ton of sense. It looks hard as well. Like, not like hard, but it also looks hard. Like, it looks like if I touch this thing, it would be made of steel or like titanium or something. And it also looks like very much a water type as well. Piplup obviously being very water focused, like a bubble. But then we get in the middle stage, it starts developing that crest, which does look a little bit more like tough. It gets steel wing and stuff as well, I think, giving you a little hint. And then Empoleon looks like it's steel plated with a steel trident on its forehead. I think it's a very, very good design for typing. I think it is solid. This is a solid typing Pokemon. This is it, y'all. We're getting down to it. This is the number 1 best starter Pokemon when it comes to typing. This one threw me for a loop because when I was looking at all these Pokemon, I was like, what is unique? What's different? What's something that I think is just really, really cool and is a really good typing? The Delphox line. The Fennekin line, I think it is awesome and well deserving of the number 1 spot because it's a very unique typing. We have not seen a lot of fire psychic types, especially with starters, and especially given that this typing could literally take out half of the other fire like starter Pokemon because they're all fighting types. This one is super unique, and especially coming after Emboar, we literally had, so in a row, we had Blaziken, which is a fighting fire type, we had Infernape, firefighting type, we had Emboar, firefighting type, and then to get a fire psychic type was dope. That was really, really cool in my opinion, just because it could easily take out those last 3 Pokemon. Like, so easily. And its design fits the typing. If you like, it feels cohesive, it looks mysterious, it looks like it would be something that would have psychic powers. Nothing about it feels off, and nothing about it feels like wrong, quote unquote. It feels like this mystical psychic Pokemon that I think is well deserving of the number 1 spot for best typing of starter Pokemon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, remember to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Quoorn's Quest over here on YouTube. If you like this series, let me know down in the comments, and let me know if your starter Pokemon did not get picked. There's a lot of different things that I could easily do with this series. I can make it longer. I could show you the in-between Pokemon that didn't even get featured in this video yet. There's a lot of them that didn't quite get featured because they fell in that middle range where they weren't the best and they weren't the worst. So let me know down in the comments if you think that your favorite starter Pokemon deserves some justice, or if you think some other starter Pokemon deserve a little love as well and should be ranked based on the things that I listed here tonight. If you think these listings were unfair, let me know how I can make them more fair, and maybe I'll do a redemption stream. And if you want to catch these streams live, I stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central over on Twitch. The link is down in the description, as well as my other social media accounts. On Mondays and Tuesdays when we go live, we're doing our Pokemon Super Soul Silver randomized Nuzlocke. Every Thursday, we take a different look at the world of Pokemon. So I hope that whether you do Fakemon, whether you do anything else in that realm, this was a really fun video for you. Again, let me know down in the comments, and as always, keep questing, y'all.